dad implemented the policy at home. He said everybody should speak English. No Creole speaking here. We said okay. And I had this nephew who had just joined us. In the morning, there was one of those students, and the person was saying, and the woman started shouting, this is a Halib, not pass with boiled ice, boiled. So when you tell the Ministerial was speaking Creole, I was So we want to call on Madam Josephine Saidu, the CEO of Tico Salon, to come up and give us an overview of the selection process. Put your hands together for her.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, retired Brigadier Julius Madabio, I esteem First Lady Madam Fatima Madabio, the Speaker of Parliament, Chief Minister, Ministers of State, the Mayor of the Freetown Municipality, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, the development partners, the 4th and 5th Estate, my esteemed panel of judges, winners of the Presidential National Best Awards, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's such a delight and honor for me to coordinate and now give an overview of the selection process for the maiden edition of the Presidential National Best Judges Awards. The selection process has 3 different panels of judges at district, regional, and national levels, and comprise 5 stages. The district and regional panels of judges comprise members of the House of Parliament from the district and region, and organizations and institutions at the district and regional levels. There are 2 sets of panelists, 8 with co-equal rights, and these are the members of Parliament, representatives of the Sierra Leone Teachers Union, the National Council for Head Teachers, Conference of Principals, civil society, SLAGE, the private sector, and the students. The 4 non-scoring members with the rights to just observe are the representatives of the Inter-Religious Council, the Anti-Corruption Commission, Audit Service Sierra Leone, and the district councils. The national panel comprised the chairman of the Parliamentary Oversight Committee, Honorable Shombe, the Chief Education Officer, MBSC, Professor Yatakanu, a renowned educationist and the present person of Mr. Makau, and representatives of the aforementioned organizations and institutions serving at the national level. In the event of a time, the student has the casting vote. The selection stages include the nomination, eligibility, assessment, interview, and verification. At the nomination stage, teachers were nominated by either a student or colleague teachers, then vetted and endorsed by the heads of schools, SMCs, or boards. At the eligibility stage, 160 shortlisted nominees were selected by the district panel of judges based on 4 eligibility criteria as follows. They should be full-time trained and qualified pre-primary, primary, or secondary school teacher in a government or government-assisted school. They should have consistent demonstration of high performance and dedication as a teacher of at least 5 years. Evidence of meeting the professional standards set by the TSC. And finally, practicing their profession in line with the Teacher Code of Conduct. At the assessment stage, 3 winners from the pre-primary, primary, JSS, SSS levels, totaling 48, emerged and faced the national panel. for an interview process focusing on their profile and accomplishments, the teacher code of conduct, the professional standards, general knowledge on the TSC, their confidence and appearance. For the final interview stage, the 15 regional winners faced the national panel for further scrutiny with a focus on 5 thematic areas. And these were professionalism, teaching excellence, students and school development, their contributions to the education sector and their communities. All credentials, including certificates and awards, were vetted and endorsed by all present, including the Anti-Corruption Commission and Audit Service Sierra Leone. For the verification process, the National Panel of Judges undertook an exercise to verify information provided, projects or initiatives by all 15 regional winners, and spoke to heads of schools, CTA chairs, SNCs, board members, college teachers, and pupils. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I must confess the journey was long, but worthwhile, and that we remain committed to ensuring fairness and transparency throughout the process. I'm pleased to see our maiden award come to light today, and we now have 48 illustrious winners, selfless, dedicated, and dynamic people who are passionate about developing the human capital of our nation. Congratulations to you all. I now call on Mr. Abubakar Kamara, the Principal Auditor of Audit Service Sierra Leone, to verify and vet the process. Thank you.
All existing protocols observed. Good morning, all. I am from the Audit Service Sierra Leone, the Office of the Auditor General. As the Audit Service Sierra Leone was part of the entire process of the Presidential Award of the Best Teacher. But this process was conducted together with other key stakeholders that I would like to name here to ensure the openness, fairness, and transparency of the entire process. The Audit Service Sierra Leone did the exercise together with the Anti-Corruption Commission. We also have the Chief Education Officer, Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, Mrs. Yata Kano, the Chairman, Basic Education Committee, Honorable Dominic Sombi, the Sierra Leone Teachers Union Representative, Mrs. Teresa Sako. We have the Conference of Principal Representative, Mrs. Maria Tumansari. Representative from NATCORT, Mr. Samuel M. Ouma. Civil Society Representative, Mr. Alfonso Manley. Local Council Representative, Mr. Idrissa Kago. Interreligious Council Representative, Sheikh Abubakar Kamara. A pupil, Beatrice Williams. Teach for Salon, Josephine Kamara. A World Bank representative, Dr. Luceni. A representative from SLAJ, Abdurrahman Kamara. And finally, educationist, Mr. Nelson Williams. Thank you all, and take this opportunity to present the final results. Thank you.
Put your hands together. The process is clear. Clap, clap, clap. Now we're going to have statements from a few people. But then statements, they are not so statements they will get for boy you. You know, say I don't tell you, say everybody should smile. If you don't want to smile, please smile. Keep the smiles on. We're going to have a statement from about 3 people. But before the statements come up, I just want to tell you about something. You know that when teachers have drivers, the driver they can feel say themselves land book like the teacher there. So I told my driver, I said trafficate is not a word, don't use it. Then he said, to one of the other drivers, we drive mad. He told us, I said, oh, you not talking about tourniquet. Talking about tourniquet. So you have to be careful with these drivers. I want to call up the World Bank Country Manager, Mr. Abdul Mawonge. Put your hands together for him as he comes up with the statement.
Thank you. It can reach? Okay. Thank you. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Julius Madabio, First Lady, Your Excellency, Vice President, Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. On behalf of the development partners, I would like to express our sincere gratitude on this huge accomplishment by your government, Dr. Bill, to launch the Presidential Best Teacher Award. It's a key award that comes on the World Teachers Day, designated by the UNESCO to celebrate the roles and responsibilities of what teachers do in our lives. Each one of us has a story about a teacher, whether we like it or not. For as long as we've been to school, each one of us has a story to tell and a story to remember. But I think it is important to recognize that the teachers are not alone. I want to come up to that, Honorable Your Excellency, Dr. Bio later, that as we celebrate teachers today, parents also have a role to play. Parents have a role to play. You need to keep the children in school. That's critical. And it's part of the mandate by His Excellency the President. It is also important that as a parent, ask yourself, how much time do you have in a week to spend with your child in whatever class, to either read a book or any other, or a local newspaper. Teach children when they are young to start reading a newspaper. But not just to go enjoy a cup of drink with friends. It's okay, drink, but also please play your role as a parent. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, teachers have played a critical role in Sierra Leone, and we are celebrating the achievements of the best teacher. And we all know that COVID has brought very difficult times to each one of us. That said, the government, through the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, has put in place measures to try and support the learning of children, despite the hard conditions. Physical conditions have been hard, the learning environment has been hard, but through, for example, the national radio program, the safety protocols to allow kids to learn during a COVID environment, just to mention a few, are measures that the government has put in place to see that we support the kids to learn during this difficult time. Physical resources are constrained, but that said, again, Your Excellency, credit to you. As part of the National Development Plan, human capital we know is a key milestone and a key agenda for your government. It is reflected in terms of the budget allocations that you do, and it's also reflected in terms of the commitment and the caliber of people you put to run the education ministry. So that is a key testament we'd like to celebrate. For us, we see Sierra Leone's achievement is being echoed all over around the world now. Last week, the president was in Washington, and human capital was among the key things that were discussed, okay? Including keeping pregnant girls in school, okay? Today, we are celebrating teachers, and we are focusing on teachers who are doing a good job. But what goes into the classroom is a lot. The enabling environment, do teachers have textbooks, do teachers have a cordial environment to express their views? These are some of the initiatives that as development partners, through, for example, the free education project, we are trying to support. But you ask yourself a question, why is a teacher very important? Cognitive skills, when we are all very young, from basic numeracy skills we learn from the teacher. Issues to deal with teamwork, communication, collaboration, lifelong skills which will transform one's life. We all learn from the teacher. And like I said, we all have a memory of a teacher who has given us a hand, held our hand to succeed. Some of you teachers have paid for your school fees. Some of you teachers have given you a meal when at home you never got enough food. You get it? So when we come back to celebrate teachers, let's really look at how much they are important in terms of improving their welfare, in terms of improving their self-esteem. As part of the development policy operation, which we are working to support the government, we are instituting an institutional framework for teacher management, working closely with the Teacher Service Commission. So we do hope that going into the future, there will be many more strides we can improve to support the teachers. But I would like to come back to where I started and say it is one thing to ask the teacher to do their part. But as a parent, what are you doing in your own capacity? Whether it is through the teacher management committees to provide an enabling environment for the teachers, or also you picking up the newspaper and learning a kid to read, because the teacher will do an enabler. Your Excellency, Dr. Bio, on behalf of my colleagues, some of whom are here, the EU, the Irish Embassy, FCDO, we are part of the free education program that is financing free quality education over the next 5 years, with a key emphasis on supporting quality learning, including improvement in the quality of teachers. So on behalf of my colleagues, we once again congratulate you on this huge achievement. You can count on our continuous support going forward. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Again, put your hands together once again. Next on the item, we have Mr. Conrad Omalike Saki, the TSC chairperson. Put your hands together for him.
Your Excellency, the President, Brigadier Retired Dr. Julius Manabio, Madam First Lady, Chief Minister, ministers, government ministers, stand on existing protocols. Your Excellency, one of your manifesto promises was to review and make functional the Teaching Service Commission with the view of creating opportunities for teachers to have a career path. I'm delighted to declare that the Commission is now fully functional. Your Excellency, please permit me to provide you with a brief background to the fully functional Commission and a snapshot, as it were, of some of the TSC's achievements to date and new developments which will further cement the strides that we have made so far. The Sierra Leone Teaching Service Commission was established to manage the affairs of teachers with a view of improving their professional status, economic well-being, and other related matters as contained in Section 9 of the TSC Act of 2011. To achieve a true national character, the TSC has had to decentralize its operations and establish a presence in 16 districts with its headquarters in Freetown. Consistent with its mandated functions, the work of the Commission is structured along 4 program departments and a department charged with its overall operation. First, teacher registration and licensing. The key functions are to maintain and upgrade annually a register of licensed teachers and vet their qualification. The key achievement of this department is in 1920, the department, in collaboration with the technical staff of MBSSC, successfully pilot tested teacher registration. Building upon the lessons learned from this pilot, the department is currently working on plans to develop an electronic database which will link certificate awarding institutions to enable rapid retrieval and verification of diplomas and certificates presented by teachers. And this year, the department will also pilot the licensure exams targeting newly recruited 1,000 teachers. The second department is teacher management, the functions of which are to recruit, replace, deploy, promote, transfer, and dismiss teachers in government and government-assisted schools, and to ensure that the appropriate procedures are followed for end-of-service retirements. The department is one of the most active. I have quite a lot of achievements that I wanted to share with you, but because time is going fast, I'm going to be selective. So the first one I want to mention is that it awarded 10% transport allowances to grades 1 to 6 teachers, and another 30% increment in salary was paid in April 2001 to all teachers in government and government-assisted schools nationwide. In the 2021 teacher recruitment campaign, the department revised the World Bank's teacher deployment protocol to target STEM, females, disabled, and volunteer teachers working in remote areas, and prioritize these groups in the recruitment of the 1,000 newly recruited teachers and the replacement of 1,300 teachers. The department has so far, over the last 3 years, recruited 6,034 teachers, replaced 5,042 retired teachers, processed 4,158 teachers for both reassessment and promotion. Some of the new developments in the department include: they have now recently concluded work with DSTI on setting up an online process for e-recruitment. So our next recruitment round will be digital. They are also working on developing a teacher management integrated system, TIMIS, which is a web-based local data management system for retrieving, storing, and visualizing teacher, professional, and biometric information. And the last achievement, the last development I want to mention is that the World Bank is currently funding a consultancy which is putting in place the resurrection, I will call it, of subject teacher associations in English language, maths, science, and French. Now, the third department is teacher development and performance, the functions of which are to organize regular induction and orientation programs for newly licensed teachers, organize continuous professional development programs for serving teachers, and manage the performance of both teachers and school leaders. The department's key achievements include the development of foundational guiding documents, which include the professional standard for teachers and school leaders, comprehensive situation analysis for teachers and the teaching profession, and harmonized teaching policies. Now, in collaboration with MBSSE, Montrose, and UNICEF, the department recently provided oversight over the EGMA-EGRA baseline assessment, which would serve as a baseline assessment for early grade maths and reading in primary schools across the country. The findings from this assessment will be used to shape pedagogic and teacher training interventions. Some of its new developments include the development of the National Strategic Framework for Continuous Professional Development for Teachers with a view to harmonize and coordinate CPD approaches, improve targeting of beneficiaries, and enhance accountability and ultimately student learning outcomes. This department is also supporting the radio teaching program, a program which was conceived at the onset of COVID-19 pandemic and prior to the general lockdown of March 2020, and is now being used to help students to revise their NPSC, Becker, and WAS exams and guiding them on good examination preparation processes. Now, in partnership with NACOT, CPSSE, and SLTU, the department has engaged Education Workforce Initiative to scope various options for a national competency-based school leadership program, which will help to improve school leadership. Now, the last department that I want to mention is the teacher-employer relations. Their functions are to develop and review standards and the code of professional ethics for teachers, define the rights and obligations of teachers in relation to their employers and the management of institutions where they serve, and discipline teachers in government and government-assisted schools in accordance with the code of conduct for teachers. Some of the, well, I've just mentioned one of the developments that they have, and that is they're currently developing a grievance redress mechanism system for addressing complaints. Now, in planning for the future, the Commission is currently in the process of reviewing the TSC Act of 2011 to ensure that it is responsive and fit for purpose to support all the new developments and trends in the education sector. In addition, the Commission's senior leadership is supporting colleagues at MPSSE and MTHE to develop the new education sector plan. And further, the Commission and staff will soon embark on its first strategic plan, which will shape its strategic vision for the next 5 years. Finally, it will be remiss of me not to seize this opportunity to thank all the sponsors of this event, and they include the World Bank Group, the government of Sierra Leone, Bukel Commercial Bank, Sierra Leone Commercial Bank, the National Revenue Authority, Africell, Leone, and Oriel Insurance Company. I would also like to thank all program donors, and they include the government of Sierra Leone, World Bank, UNICEF, Leone, FCDO, and I register a note of thanks and appreciation to all our numerous delivery partners, so many of them that I cannot name them all. I thank you all.
Put your hands together again. Clap, clap. I don't know if you've noticed something in Sierra Leone now. Everywhere you go, it's technology. Every ministry, department, agency, technology. Everything is technological. We give God glory for that. Let me just let you into a conversation I had one day. We were passing along Kutan Road, and they were just arguing. These boys were just arguing. And they said, the woman who was standing by said, you know, see me, where I go, I take my phone, I just check my picky in NPSC results. I just check and just know. And then the other one said, you don't know, that Monday, like it says like which man? And who are they talking about? Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as I call up the Minister of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, Dr. David Monina Senge. Put your hands together for him.
Thank you. His Excellency Brigadier Retired Dr. Julius Malabio, esteemed First Lady, Chief Minister, ministers of government, the country manager of World Bank, the chair of TSC, please permit me to stand on existing protocols, and my senior colleague, Honorable Alpha Wuri. Your Excellency, since we are here to witness you unveiling yet another campaign promise, I wanted to ask you to kindly permit me to update my fellow citizens on all our currently achieved manifesto promises in the basic and senior secondary education over the last couple of years. Under the governance pillar, the education governance pillar, there are 10 basic education goals, starting with you reverting the 6344 system back to 6334 on your first day in office. Our planning in education and the coordination, sir, is so good locally and internationally, and we have the largest multi-donor trust fund ever at $72 million with 5 major development partners. And as of last week, we are now eligible for up to $40 million because of the work that we have done. And our team is currently developing the first locally led education sector plan. Our education management and information system is one across the entire continent that has data linked for all schools from 2012 to 2021. You promised to improve the inspectors of schools. We have hired 160 new inspectors, giving them motorbikes and tablets, and trained them. They've been thorough, effective, as you promised. Sir, you also promised to build the capacity of school management committees for primary schools and for secondary schools, that we will depoliticize the boards and introduce compulsory reporting. I would like to update you and my colleagues that as I speak right now, thousands of SNC members nationwide currently are undergoing that training. All board members, the chairs, and the secretaries have been trained. And each secondary school in this country has been given one tablet. Those principals use those tablets daily and regularly to report. And for all primary schools, all head teachers will also be given one tablet. Yes, sir, we have done 100% of what we said we would do in the education governance pillar. Under the education financing and management theme, we have increased the education sector budget to 22%. We have a public-private partnership framework, and we track all of our donor resources through our coordinated PIUs. We have an excellent relationship with SLTU, the bike riders, the market women, the CSOs, hence they are involved in our processes. In that sort of thing, we have also done 100% of what we said we would do. For civic education, we have launched the National Program on Civic Education, developed the curriculum and learning materials for Class 1 all the way to GSS 3. And as I speak right now, the books are on the IC to land in Sierra Leone. This will solidify our already introduced civic education in our school's timetable. That too will be fully 100% completed by the end of this year. For the theme of increasing access to functional adult literacy education, we have established 202 centers across all chiefdoms, as we promised. We have a draft of an updated early education curriculum, and we've been working with organizations like SMIDA for integrating literacy programs into livelihoods for women. Women are key, and the conversations around adult literacy in some marketplaces have begun. We are well on the way to achieving that 100% as well. Alas, while we have started all of the manifesto promises, we haven't completed all just yet. For increasing the number of qualified teachers, we are working with MCHE to support our teachers who participate in distance learning, and we are working with the teacher training institutions to expand teaching of foreign languages. For increasing access to quality education, we are doing a lot and more than we promised. Certainly, we have free tuition from pre-primary to SSS. We have child-friendly schools. We will build and continue to develop early childhood education supported by government policy. We're starting the construction of hostels in 3 districts this year, and we will support 11 boarding schools by the end of next year. Inclusive education is fully supported, and we are buying 5 buses for special needs schools across this country. I'm sure some of the students here rode on the subsidized school buses, which are present in every district headquarter town. All but one district has a functional library, and the ministers and the people from that district are actively working that Falaba will also have its own district library. We have new high schools of excellence in Pulaka, which we opened, a new state-of-the-art one in Kenema, which will open soon, and we will establish state-of-the-art high schools in all regions as promised. Sir, you also promised to build the capacity, Your Excellency, you asked us to make French a core subject in junior and senior secondary schools. I must confess this will be difficult to achieve, as we don't have that many French teachers, but we will think outside the box. It will be as difficult to achieve as going to single shift in all schools, because we will increase the enrollment by over 30%. But we will try. And for the latter, we are building 510 classrooms as recently announced over the next 3 years. Finally, on improving the conditions of teachers, this is why we're here. As you just heard from the TSC chair, TSC is more than functional than we ever imagined. While we have extended the retirement age of teachers in STEM, French, Arabic, agriculture, we need new schemes for teachers in remote areas. It's a promise that we made. My team is developing a remote or village teacher policy that will address some of this, as well as the issue of community teachers. On the other critical promise, I quote, introduce the Best Teacher Award for the most innovative, ingenious, and dedicated teachers at national and district levels. Well, you're talking to do, sir, and so we are waiting keynotes to hear on that promise. I would like to conclude that my dedicated staff at MBSSC and all other agencies that I supervise go by the manifesto and the National Development Plan because we believe that education is sweet and power Salud was better. Thank you.
Permit me, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, permit me
test the President's patience. I gather he's a very patient someone, but I want to test his patience. Go ahead. Mr. President, permit me to have a little class session with your pupils. Put your hands together. I didn't say clap. I said put your hands together. Put your hands together. You see, what in parents then they go to Trangaes speaking house, you cannot eat Trangaes. When I mean they clap for all the ministers that when they can talk. When people do well in a school, what are they glad for? Huh? We're not talking about parents. When all the ministers they are women of clap for, who are going to teach children for clap for? For president. Now the clap for president. Don't make her ask una question. Una see what children for clap. Una hear what children for clap, not so? Why una be clap when a children for put una hands together? Mr. President, my only disappointment is the fact that when I was a teacher, you were not president. Actually, because I would have won the best teacher for the village, for the street, for the region. So let me just give you a taste of what teachers endure in schools. One of the most popular secondary boys' schools and one of the most popular girls' secondary schools. What I have observed is that in boys' schools, they flog. In girls' schools, they detain. Also, am I right? Okay, one popular boys' school in which my brother was a teacher, the pupils are just registered. Form 1 pupils and they were being asked to introduce themselves. And this little boy came from Liberia. Yeah, he was a Liberian, and he was asked, "What's your name?" And he said to the teacher, "My name is Wherefore." "What's your name?" "My name is Wherefore." And the teacher got annoyed. "I don't want to know your status. What is your name?" "We are poor." And the pupils said, "Please sir, I want to know his name. He is called We Are Poor." And he thought that the boy was telling him about the social status, making a simple sentence, "We are poor, sir." When I went to the girls' secondary school, they were dealing in maths, but they had been told not to speak Creole in school. And unfortunately, most of them got the maths problem wrong, and they were detained. The teacher was waiting. The whole they went through the assignment. They brought their papers. Wrong. And one of the girls, a frisky little girl, submitted a paper. She was wrong, but when she was coming back to her colleagues, she was smiling. And one of the other girls, "Louisa, did you get it?" And she said, "Those you know for talk Creole, and he's speaking on one talk Creole. Did you get it?" The girl would say, "Usai." "Did you get it? Where?" So this is where I will invite. Did I say you should laugh? Put your hands together.
Mr. President, this is where I'll test your patience to the extreme. The person responsible to give the vote of thanks, I want to conduct an election. Can you come forward, please? Director, Teacher Management, Mrs. Miriam S. Abu. Is she around? We are conducting this election in a unique way. You speak, and we take your speech as the vote. So that's why we call it the vote of thanks. Can you quickly cast your vote, please?
His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Julius Matabio, and our First Lady, our Ministers of Education, Chief Minister and all the ministers, our adorable and dedicated first chair of the Teaching Service Commission, Dr. Stanella Beckley, our esteemed judges, our winners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It has been 3 years for the Teaching Service Commission to fulfill an announcement that was made by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone to recognize the value of teachers, to promote excellence among teachers, and to motivate our valuable teachers. So, in 2018, it was agreed that this event be called the Presidential National Best Teachers Award. And our aim is to award most innovative, resourceful, and dedicated teachers at different levels in the teaching profession. Thank you, sir, for your pronouncement. Today, we are celebrating our teachers in Sierra Leone. So the chair of the commission, Mr. Conrad Saki, you have achieved your goals and accomplished a statement that His Excellency made in 2018 to recognize the effort of teachers towards achieving the objectives of the free quality education. Chair, for 3 years, we've been struggling to implement this activity. But today, here we are. With your zeal and dedication, we have achieved the recognition of our teachers in this event. So you, my colleagues, at the Teaching Service Commission, the assessment from pre-primary, junior secondary, senior secondary, so the district, the regional, and the national assessments. As we are having 3 winners today for the national winners, we have created a platform of excellence. As we all know, we are here, very organized and devoted to make sure our teachers are celebrated. Thank you for your relentless efforts. Special acknowledgement and thank you to our consultants who brought new innovations to the process because of her broad range of knowledge in the work of education. Madam Josephine Saidu, we are grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to ask our judges, our dedicated, hardworking, esteemed judges, to please stand and let's clap for them. We want to acknowledge your unwavering support to the Teaching Service Commission throughout this process. Your efforts will not go unmentioned in this occasion. God, in His infinite goodness, will bless and guide. To our partners, especially the Ministry of Finance, World Bank, Rokel Commercial Bank, CLM Commercial Bank, National Revenue Authority, AfriCell, Oral Insurance Company. Thank you for your immense support, financial contributions. Please continue to support us because we are geared to an annual celebration of our teachers every year. Continue to support us. God bless you. Let us also remind ourselves that this award is an annual event, has been set aside to celebrate our teachers as they are the driving force in revitalizing this noble profession that is the teaching profession. Finally, let me congratulate our winners. Please wave if you are a winner, just wave. Wave your hands. Let me congratulate our first set of winners of the 2021 Presidential National Best Teachers Award. As Mother Teresa once said, you will teach them to fly, but they will not fly your flight. Teach them to dream, but they will not dream your dreams. Teach them to live, but they will not live your life. But nevertheless, in every flight, in every life, and in every dream, the prints that you have made in their lives will continue to remain with them. With these few words, let me remind you that you are professionals. For all our winners in the district, regional, and national, go back as professionals, excellent teachers that are committed to their students' development and to the contribution of building Sierra Leone in this free quality education. Once more, I say thank you. Thank you to everybody that is here. Hoping to see you all in our Presidential National Best Teachers Award of 2022 coming very soon. Stronger teachers. Thank you all.
National Best Teachers Award. Well, we have come to a point where it is necessary for us to focus. Yes, we need to focus because we've had so much, and all that we've had, all the positive things we've had can be traced to one man, a visionary, who thought about something honorable and had the courage to share it with others. And now we have begun to see the fruit. But before I invite him, I just discovered here, somebody was talking a few minutes ago, David, the Minister of Basic Education, and possibly in left for Bonia. But when I read something important today, Agladi wa Rodongonian. When I remember with somebody come up here where they talk about all the things that we live down, when possible for register, which in color, which man. Thank God and not become near. And when I will prove whether you know which man or not, when you say can't talk, you talk about the books, then when you're on the high seas. If the land I live, they don't soak, then the teaching profession and the preaching profession are the most noble. The most noble you can find anywhere among human beings, because they are responsible for our spiritual nurture and also for our mental, emotional, psychological, and social nurture. But what we should appreciate at this point in time is not the fact that these professions are noble, but that somebody came out as a nobler someone to recognize the fact that these noble professions had been neglected, particularly the teaching profession, and we decided to share that vision with us. And now we are benefiting from the result of his nobility. So now put your hands together. Fine, now you begin to learn. Let us give him a clap that will resound to both the Mr. President, it gives me great pleasure to invite you to the podium Ladies and gentlemen, the President.
Thank you very much. Sit down, please. Thank you all, distinguished teachers and school administrators, Madam First Lady, Chief Minister, Ministers of Government, Honorable Members of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, the World Bank Country Representative, and other partners present here today, our revered traditional leaders and municipal leaders present here, leadership and staff the Teaching Service Commission, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's still good morning also, depending on what your clock says. Teacher Dedea. Teacher Dedea. This is a day of celebration. For Lusuna face. You may have noticed that I deliberately reversed sequencing in protocol in order to highlight the importance of teachers, not only at this event, but in our lives and the future of this country. As has been alluded to by many before me, teachers are a great people. Teachers are one of the most important people in our lives. But for so long, we forget when we reach the pinnacle of our careers, we forgot how we got there. In that regard, I crave your indulgence to all stand up and give the teachers, young, old, experienced, inexperienced,
Not to put your hands together, but to clap. Clap for all the teachers. Thank you very much. Let's sit down now. Ladies and gentlemen, a barefooted 5-year-old boy who stared in awe and with great curiosity on his first day at school. Today holds degrees from institutions of higher learning, can speak English and French, use technology, think critically, interact freely with world leaders, and is today the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. It is all because of the sacrifice, the care, the nurture, and patience of those great people seated there. And many others. 3 years ago, I lost my first headmaster. May he so rest in peace. But I still have some of them alive, though. And they are the proudest. I remember one telling me, he said, now that you are president, I want to come and do consultancy. He's still alive. And I said to him, but you taught me everything, and I've learned even more than you. So what are you going to come and do? And he said, there's still more I can teach you. Therefore, when this day set aside as World Teachers Day, it is all appropriate to celebrate, to honor, and to thank every teacher for all they have done. Through war and through pestilence, teachers have been at the very heart of our nation's resilience and recovery. Even during the COVID-19 pandemic, which we are still going through, they kept schools open, imparted knowledge with characteristic selflessness, patiently prepared students for transitional exams, and continue to mold and open minds as they do always. So today is about honoring those who have been mocked, ridiculed, and underappreciated for choosing a profession that does not bestow instantly. We have some bad students who mock their teachers, not so. Do they do anything? Anyway, I'm a culprit too. I used to be one. So we are here to really honor you, to celebrate you, and to let you know you are a great people. Today is about recognizing communicators. Make no mistake, they are the best communicators in the world. They are the best influencers in the world. Tell your child in preschool or kindergarten or in class 1 something that Auntie did say to him or her. Then you know who is more powerful, whether you're the mom or dad. There are opinion makers. There are caregivers. People who serve with empathy, who mold characters, instill discipline and respect, who empower, who give passion, imagination, hopes, and dreams, and opportunities to blossom. Great people they are. Today is about thanking those who, when children have doubts, when they make mistakes, and when they are unsure and frustrated, we patiently stand by and assure them that they are the best, and they are always the best. They are a great people. Today is about honoring those who have dedicated their lives to nurturing and developing human capital of our nation, and thus shaping the future of our nation. Great people they are. Today is about celebrating and honoring our teachers. Thank you, teachers, on behalf of this nation. As president, I have prioritized investing in human capital because it is the only enduring, inclusive, and sustainable pathway to developing our nation. Central to that investment is quality education that is universal and equally accessible by all. The chairman of the Teaching Service Commission has given an exhaustive list of reforms we promised and have delivered to teachers. We talk and we do. The Minister of Basic and Senior Secondary Education has laid out the whole gamut of reforms in the education sector that have made us the object of great admiration the world over. And that is no mistake. Today, when you talk about effort towards education, Sierra Leone comes to mind around the world, and we have done so in less than 3 years. But I want to thank our partners who have believed in us, stood with us, and worked with us to invest in our citizens through the free quality education. There are so many, I will not name them, but the World Bank did allude to that representative. The partnerships, technical support, policy advice, and funding support have been truly invaluable. Thank you, our partners. Thank you for supporting the teacher training and your provision of teaching and learning materials, and your alignment of your funding and expertise with our long-term strategies for augmenting teacher training. There is a role for the private sector and foundations and other multilateral agencies. We want to encourage the private sector and other agencies to help us. This is the national goal. Let us forge partnerships that improve the quality of teachers and of teaching in Sierra Leone. We believe that quality teaching leads to better student outcomes and higher student achievement and completion rates. This is why teachers are central to our overall education strategy, and why in the People's Manifesto I announced the Best Teacher Award for the most innovative, ingenious, and dedicated teachers at national, regional, and district levels. Our thinking was that through a transparent, competitive process based on clear guidelines, teachers would be identified across the country who consistently demonstrate a number of desirable qualities. Our assessments were based on innovative teaching strategies, including the use of technology and digital media, creating an inclusive and engaging learning environment for the students, maintaining high standards of teaching and assessment, supporting student learning and development beyond the classroom, maintaining the teaching code of conduct, and being a peer mentor and positive role model for other teachers. The objective is to motivate teachers to work towards excellence in the teaching profession and to inspire others to join the profession and to exceed minimum standards. We want to raise the profile and visibility of teachers and of the teaching profession. So we need your support. I have said you are a great people, but we need you to be able to raise your profile, to be able to make you more visible. Winners will serve as role models for other teachers and share their best practices. I expect that the Teaching Service Commission will develop a toolkit that will outline feasible ways best teachers can do. When you are selected, you have to be a role model. You must continue to work. not only to teach, but also to teach students, but also to teach your colleagues who are struggling with the art of teaching. In addition to the modest prizes we will be providing to each winner today, these winners will be nominated as Sierra Leone's nominee to compete in this year's AU Teachers Prize. So we are beginning to open the door to the wider community. I will close by thanking teachers for what they are and for all that they do. You nurture and you educate young people who I see as the source of hope and as drivers of productive, inclusive, cohesive, and sustainable future. If we should be at the center and not at the receiving end of the fourth industrial revolution, if we should participate actively in the global order, we must and should do better at educating our next generation of leaders, and that task lies entirely into your hands. If as a nation we should meet our targets of social justice and civic responsibility, of gender empowerment and equality, radical inclusion of the youth, girls, pregnant or parent learners, the poor, the rural, those living with disabilities and other at-risk populations, we must continue to invest in, honor, and celebrate our great teachers. Congratulations, and I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It's now time for those who are generally unseen to be seen. It's now time to present you to the public for all to see and to be challenged to aspire. You are being honored for excellence, innovation in your teaching, creative and dedicated teaching. And just a few moments ago, the President underlined the fact that you mold the source of hope, our young people. You mold the source of hope for the kind of future we dream of. Now, let me, with your permission, Mr. President, ask the Minister of Basic Education to come forward to hand over the award to one category of winners. We have 3 categories: primary school, senior secondary, and junior secondary. So I will call on Western Area Rural, Marian Samuel, primary. Western Area Urban, Senior Secondary. Isa Togo Yambasu, Senior Secondary. Jonathan Bobo Kinto, Junior Secondary. Fatimata Nyasi Ndalema, Primary. Pujam Sheku Ansumana Kane, Sheku Ansumana Kane, Junior Secondary. Mariam Sharif, Primary. Bo Ibrahim Sam, Senior Secondary. How many jealous people they want running that way? Ibrahim Cole, Western Urban. Is Ibrahim Cole now? Ibrahim Cole, 1 unit small. Thank you, Mr. Minister. I'll ask the Minister of Higher Technical Education to dish out the following awards. Bomb Dauda Lahai Kuruma, Senior Secondary. Loretta Aja Alpha, Primary. Karina Philip Hassan Kuruma, Senior Secondary. Salifu Tampo Conte Primary. Podloko Ali Chararoli, Junior Secondary. Cambia Sapiatu Pedro Santo Primary. Amara Sine Kanu, Senior Secondary. Lamin Sema Kamara, Junior Secondary. John Coley, Aloysius Abdul Toure, Senior Secondary. Ismail Fona, Junior Secondary. Mohammed Saeed Kabir Primary. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Now, may I call the Deputy Minister. Koinalu, Yenguman Sarin, Senior Secondary. Aliu Sokoi Kanu, Junior Secondary. Augustine Lamina Mansare. Falaba David Fure Conde, Senior Secondary. Magba Sise, Junior Secondary. Edward Momodu Kuruma, Primary. Kailamu Francis Sabini, Primary. Kono Adran Suri Conte, Senior Secondary. Tamba Stephen Beaumont, Junior Secondary. Emmanuel Lamin Baga, Primary. Kenema. Juliet Mercy Amara, Senior Secondary. Lamin Kamara, Junior Secondary. Can I ask the ministers who dished out the awards to join the group for a group photograph? You have the privilege of enjoying the President's company also. Mr. President, can we prevail on you? Quickly move over to the regional winners. And may I humbly ask the First Lady, Madam Fatima Mio, to oblige us with her presence. Regional winner, Western Area, Alfonso Cargo, Senior Secondary. Lilian Songo, Junior Secondary. Gladys Babinjoko Branch, Northwestern Region, Kalilu Sherif Kaba, Senior Secondary. Fatma Kako, Junior Secondary. Betty Magdalene, Betty Magdalene Moyo, primary. Northern Region, Hajaratu Fula, Senior Secondary. Mary Magdalene Biro, Junior Secondary. Asata Mansouri, primary. May I now call on the Chief Minister. Thank you, Madam First Lady. Thank you, Mr. Chief Minister. Southern Region, Paul Yusu, Senior Secondary. David Joseph Murphy, Junior Secondary. Alice Fatou Cissé, primary. Eastern Region. Ansinu Keleti Lamin, Senior Secondary. Harry Peter Jusu, Junior Secondary. Tusi Sarah Cody. May I again prevail on the First Lady, please, to grace your group with your presence. Now we have come to the high point, and let me confess that my voice is too small to announce this level of results. So I will humbly ask His Excellency, the President, to announce this unique group, we call them the National Award winners.
please. I have the pleasure and honor to call the names of all those, the 3 people who have been chosen, and I will start from the bottom. And that person is no less than David Joseph Murphy. Come forward, please. David Joseph Murphy. The second name is Gladys B. Brown.
What a joy.
The very first, the first Presidential Teachers Award is Susie Sarah Colley. This is the check for David Joseph Murphy. Gladys. And of course, to Sarah Colley.
Can I ask the First Lady and the World Bank representative to join the group? Congratulations. 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 What surprises me is that we have someone, please, we know you are joyful, but let's just pay a bit more attention. Thank you, Eastern Region. Please, can we keep quiet, please? Let us pay attention for the final remarks of the day, which will come from the band, the national anthem.
Joseph.
Please remain standing as the President and First Lady leaves. Put your hands together for the President once again. Thank you.
Please listen for a crucial announcement.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Regional winners. All regional winners also have a cash prize of 10 million euros. So the remaining regional winners have a cash prize of 10 million euros. And all district winners have a cash prize of 5 million euros. So everyone is a winner. Thank you.
They sound different. Now which camera I want to put there, Mike?
Also, in addition, hello everyone, please. Also, in addition, the management of Golden Tulip is giving a nice complimentary treat to the 3 national winners. And everyone, please treat yourself outside to lunch. The lunch area is set. superlatives for the schools producing the district winners. Please collect your certificates for your schools. Please.
Justice Roberts, Ms. Justice Thompson, Mr. Justice Alusani Sise, and Mr. Justice Sengo Kuruma. We have arrived at the declaration sought by the seventh defendant, though for different reasons, which will appear in the respective judgments. My lords, my lady, this case deals with a matter of great public interest and importance. It deals with the question of who is a citizen of Sierra Leone in terms of the Constitution of Sierra Leone 1991, Act number 12 of 1991, for the purposes of contesting presidential and/or parliamentary elections, and at what point in time that person loses his citizenship, and whether having lost it, he could regain it at a later date. The question also involves the procedure to be followed for divesting oneself of one's citizenship. In other words, how does one renounce one's citizenship under Sierra Leone law? This question by itself does not raise any constitutional issue. It merely deals with the interpretation of a statute, the Sierra Leone Citizenship Act 1973, as amended in 1976, in 2006, and in 2017, respectively. This issue could have been dealt with in the High Court. Further, as far as issues of eligibility relating to parliamentary elections are concerned, these are issues which ought to be dealt with by and in the High Court and in accordance with the Public Elections Act 2012. Further, Section 78, subsection 1 of the Constitution of Sierra Leone 1991, Act number 6 of 1991, hereafter the 1991 Constitution, provides that the High Court shall have jurisdiction to hear and determine any question whether any person has been validly elected as a member of Parliament. In other words, issues dealing with nomination as a candidate and contesting parliamentary elections as a candidate are matters exclusively for the High Court. The Supreme Court has no jurisdiction to deal with such issues standing by themselves. Appeals relating to parliamentary elections, such as those concerning a candidate's eligibility to contest such elections and the manner in which they have been nominated for such elections, can only be made as far as the Court of Appeal. They can go no further. But where the issue is the citizenship of a candidate for a presidential election, that issue can only be brought before and dealt with by this court. The Supreme Court can only exercise its original jurisdiction to interpret a statute if it falls within the ambit of Section 127, subsection 1 of the Constitution, which says, "A person who alleges that an enactment or anything contained in or done under the authority of that or any other enactment is inconsistent with or is in contravention of a provision of this Constitution may at any time bring an action in the Supreme Court for a declaration to that effect." The plaintiff herein has not directly invoked Section 127, subsection 1 of the 1991 Constitution, but in challenging the correctness of the decision taken by the third and fourth defendants herein to accept the nomination of the first defendant as candidate for both the presidential and parliamentary elections in 2018, he is impliedly invoking that constitutional provision. He is saying that both these respective defendants have done something under the authority of an enactment, the Public Elections Act 2012, which is inconsistent with and in contravention of sections 41, 75, and 76, subsection 1, paragraph A of the 1991 Constitution, namely, that they accepted for nomination someone, that is the first defendant, who did not satisfy the eligibility criteria in sections 41, 75, and 76, respectively, of the 1991 Constitution. The specific criterion he claims has not been and was not satisfied by first defendant was citizenship. That criterion being that the candidate for both elections must be a citizen of Sierra Leone, otherwise than by naturalization, and should not at the same time be a citizen of another country. He alleges that first defendant was a dual citizen of both the United States and of Sierra Leone at the time he was nominated as a candidate in both elections. If he is correct in this respect, this court, in my respectful view, could make some of the declarations he has sought. Section 127, subsection 2 states as follows: the Supreme Court shall, for the purpose of a declaration under subsection 1, make such orders and give such directions as it may consider appropriate for giving effect to or enabling effect to be given to the declaration so made. Theoretically, it follows that in 2018, this court agreed that third and fourth defendants had acted wrongly or in contravention of the provisions of this constitution. We could have, in the exercise of our discretion, treated the plaintiff's originating notice of motion as the objection filed pursuant to the provisions of Section 47, subsection 3 of the Public Elections Act 2012, which states, an objection against the nomination of a presidential candidate shall be heard by the Supreme Court, made up of 3 justices, whose decision shall be given within 30 days of the lodging of the objection. The business of this court in its original jurisdiction is to adjudicate on claims brought to it. But in order for this court theoretically, I must again emphasize, to have entertained any such objection as provided for in Section 47, subsection 3 of the Public Elections Act 2012, assuming that provision did not and does not contravene any constitutional provision, the person taking the objection should have first complied with the provisions of Section 47, subsection 2 of the Public Elections Act 2012, which states inter alia that the government notice referred to in subsection 1 shall direct that any citizen of Sierra Leone may lodge an objection, if any, against the nomination of a presidential candidate, but that the objection shall be lodged with the Supreme Court within 7 days of the publication of the government notice. That government notice is exhibited as DF1 to the plaintiff's affidavit of 5th February 2018. That is, the affidavit was filed within the 7-day period stipulated in Section 47, subsection 3. The originating notice of motion was filed on the same day. This court has decided in Supreme Court cases numbers 6 and 7 of 2018, Dr. Sylvia Blyden, Dr. Samuel Kamara, and others, the Honorable Chief Justice, Justice Edwards, myself, Justice Roberts, Justice Alusain Sise, Justice of the Supreme Court, and Justice Ivan Sise, Justice of Appeal, the Honorable Chief Justice, Justice Edwards, delivering the unanimous decision of the court, that when statute, in particular the Public Elections Act 2012, provides that any action should be brought to this court in its original jurisdiction, it has to be brought by way of originating notice of motion. In dealing with the challenge to the election of a president, the learned Chief Justice said at page 93 of his judgment, the originating process mentioned there as the way of invoking the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court thus becomes the only way and law applicable to challenging the validity of presidential election results pursuant to Section 45, subsection 2 of the Constitution. The mention of by petition in the Supreme Court becomes destitute of any legal effect to the level of its inconsistency with the 1991 Constitution, in the sense that there cannot be another process of invoking the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court by petition when the said Constitution already recognizes and applies originating notice of motion process through the Supreme Court rules or existing law. End of quotation. There, this court was dealing with a challenge to the election of our current president. But as I shall show hereafter, that conclusion applies equally to a challenge to the eligibility of a candidate to contest a presidential election. Section 122, subsection 2 of the Constitution states, the Supreme Court may, while treating its own previous decisions as normally binding, depart from a previous decision when it appears, should be IT, when it appears so to do, right so to do. I concord in and with that decision, that is the Dr. Sylvia Blyden and others' decision, and I see no reason to depart from it. There are several important implications flowing from this decision. Any such action that is an original action in this court should be dealt with in accordance with the Supreme Court Rules 1982, Statutory Instrument number 1 of 1982, made pursuant to powers conferred on the Rules of Court Committee by the 1991 Constitution and its predecessor, the 1978 Constitution. This means that the originating notice of motion could only have been heard at the earliest 21 days after 5th February 2018, that is on 26th February 2018. The plaintiff filed the statement of case on 15th February 2018. Each defendant had another 10 days within which to file his or its statement of case. That would have taken things up to 25th February. Both presidential and parliamentary elections were already fixed for 7th March 2018, 10 days away from 25th February 2018, but other events intervened. On 27th February 2018, the 5th, 6th, and 7th defendants filed a motion in this court asking to be joined as parties. That motion was heard on 1st March 2018 by a 3-judge panel fixed by Mr. Justice Cham, then Chief Justice, that is, myself, Justice Roberts and Justice Thompson, Justices of the Supreme Court, as stipulated in Section 47, subsection 3 of the Public Elections Act 2012. Mr. Justice Cham, then Chief Justice, was right in this respect. He was also acting in accordance with the provisions of Section 126 of the 1991 Constitution. The court first had to consider the application for joinder, which was interlocutory in nature because it did not finally determine the cause or matter, before hearing the plaintiff's substantive originating motion. The constitutional provision dealing with the quorum for a Supreme Court hearing is Section 126 of the 1991 Constitution, referred to above in paragraph 9, which states as follows: a single justice of the Supreme Court acting in its criminal jurisdiction and 3 justices of the Supreme Court acting in its civil jurisdiction may exercise any power vested in the Supreme Court not involving the decision of a cause or matter before the Supreme Court, save that A, in criminal matters, if any such justice refuses or grants an application in the exercise of any such power, any person affected thereby shall be entitled to have the application determined by the Supreme Court, constituted by 3 justices thereof. And in civil matters, any order, direction, or decision made or given by the 3 justices in pursuance of the powers conferred by this section may be varied, discharged, or reversed by the Supreme Court, constituted by 5 justices thereof. It follows that whatever decision the 3-man panel gave would have been subject to reversal or variation by the full panel of 5 justices. Also, it was clear that in order not to contravene Section 126 of the 1991 Constitution, it was mandatory that a full panel of 5 justices should preside over the plaintiff's originating motion. Thus, Section 47, subsection 3 of the Public Elections Act 2012 is in this respect clearly inconsistent with the provisions in Section 126 of the 1991 Constitution. A 3-member panel of this court cannot finally decide an original action. Section 126 requires no interpretation. Its wording is clear and unambiguous. The application made by the 5th, 6th, and 7th defendants was one which the court could not refuse. First defendant was the presidential candidate for the 7th defendant, the National Grand Coalition. If the plaintiff succeeded in his action, the party would have to find another candidate. The 5th was and is the chairman of the party. The 6th defendant was at the time Secretary General of the 7th dependent party. The application was granted. Consequential orders were also made, including fixing the date of hearing of plaintiff's substantive originating motion on 2nd March 2018 at 2:30 p.m. Time for filing respective statements of case by the additional defendants was abridged to 24 hours because of the exigencies of the situation. The 6th order I made, and in which Mr. Justice Roberts and Mr. Justice Thompson concurred, was as follows. 6. In view of the questions raised for determination in the substantive originating notice of motion, the full court of 5 justices will be sitting tomorrow. In paragraph 11 above, I have already explained the necessity for such an order. Indeed, at that next hearing on Friday, 2nd March 2018, the full bench of 5 justices did sit. Objection was taken to the presence of 2 of the justices on the full panel. Those justices recused themselves, and 2 other justices of the Supreme Court replaced them at the hearing the following Tuesday, 6th March 2018, after Mr. Justice Cham, then Chief Justice, had reconstituted the panel the previous Monday, 5th March 2018. That being the case, it was quite obvious that a decision could not be given by the court within 30 days of 5th February 2018, as stipulated in Section 47, subsection 3 of the Public Elections Act 2012. And again, Mr. Justice Edwards, Chief Justice, has, with the unanimous concurrence of the other justices in the case cited above, Dr. Sylvia Blyden and others against His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio and others, ruled that the Constitution takes precedence, as it should, over any other enactment. In this respect also, Section 47, subsection 3 of the Public Elections Act 2012 is clearly inconsistent with the provisions of Section 126 of the Constitution. Having dealt in some measure with the provisions in the Public Elections Act 2012, which deal with the manner in which the challenge to the nomination of a candidate for a presidential election ought to be carried out, and consequently pointing out where those provisions are inconsistent with those in the 1991 Constitution, I shall go on to deal with the corollary and perhaps the principal issue brought up by the plaintiff, which is whether being a citizen of another country while maintaining one's citizenship of Sierra Leone deprives one of the rights to contest election in Sierra Leone for the presidency. This issue calls for the interpretation of Section 76, subsection 1, subsection A of the 1991 Constitution. During the course of the hearing, the plaintiff discontinued their entire action against all defendants. This was done after all parties had filed or had been given leave to file out of time their respective statements of case. In these circumstances, counsel for the seventh defendant requested that this court make a pronouncement on one of the reliefs it had sought so that there might be clarity on the issue as to when a citizen of Sierra Leone loses his citizenship and consequently his eligibility to contest presidential and parliamentary elections. The court agreed that it would do so, and I shall do so in the course of this judgment. But first, it is necessary to set out the origins of the action and the course it took in this court, as this procedure would have some bearings on the issue of costs at the end of the day. The plaintiff, David Forner, as stated above, on 5th February 2018, filed in this court's registry an originating notice of motion posing certain questions which, according to his solicitors and counsel, needed to be answered by the court. And if they were answered in a certain manner, several declarations were sought. The action was initially brought against Alhaji Dr. Kande Kole Yumkela, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the Chief Electoral Commissioner, Mohamed Infa Ali Conte, and the National Electoral Commission. Later in the proceedings, as indicated above, on the application of counsel for the first defendant, Dr. Yumkela, and by order of this court, the other three defendants were added on, namely Dr. Dennis Bright, Chairman, National Gun Coalition, Francis Indowa, Secretary General, National Gun Coalition, and the National Gun Coalition Party itself. The plaintiff asked this court firstly to interpret sections 41, 75, and 76 of the 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone. Interpretation of those constitutional provisions will help determine 1. Whether a naturalized citizen of Sierra Leone is disqualified from being elected as a member of parliament and thereby also disqualified to be elected president. 2. Whether a citizen of a country other than Sierra Leone, having become one voluntarily or otherwise, in brackets, or is under a declaration of allegiance to such a country, is disqualified from being elected a member of the Sierra Leone parliament and consequently disqualified to be elected president. 3. If the answer to question 1 is in the affirmative, what is the effect in law of a naturalized citizen running for election as a member of parliament and consequently for the office of president? 4. If the answer to question 2 is in the affirmative, what is the effect of such a citizen running for parliament and also for the office of president? Secondly, the plaintiff posed for determination by this court the interpretation of sections 5 and 7 of the Sierra Leone Citizenship Act 1973 as amended by Act number 11 of 2006. First question posed was whether upon a proper construction of sections 10 of the Section 10 of the 1973 Act as amended, and before the coming into force of the Amendment Act in 2006, a person having Sierra Leone citizenship and any other citizenship as one at the same time by operation of law ceased to be a Sierra Leonean. 2. Whether upon a proper interpretation of Section 11 of the 1973 Act as amended and before the coming into effect of the 2006 Amendment Act, a person upon attaining the age of 22 years, being a citizen of Sierra Leone and also a citizen of another country by operation of the law, ceased to be a citizen of Sierra Leone. 3. If the answer to question 1 is in the affirmative, can such a person be eligible to contest parliamentary and presidential elections? 4. If the answer to 2 is in the affirmative, what is the effect in law of a person who is already a citizen of Sierra Leone and also a citizen of another country? Can such a person be eligible to contest parliamentary and presidential elections? The plaintiff sought the following declarations. 1. That by virtue of sections 41, 75, and 76 of our 1991 Constitution, no person shall be qualified to be elected a member of parliament or president if he is a naturalized citizen of Sierra Leone. 2. That by virtue of sections 41, 75, and 76 of our Constitution, no person shall be so qualified to be elected a member of parliament or president if he is a citizen of a country other than Sierra Leone, having become such a citizen voluntarily or is under a declaration of allegiance to the other country. 3. that by virtue of sections 10 and 11 of the 1973 Act as amended, and before the coming into force of the 2006 Amendment Act, a citizen of Sierra Leone who was also a citizen of another country ceased to be a Sierra Leonean. And 4, that if the declaration sought above are granted, the first defendant, Dr. Yum Keller, is disqualified to be elected a member of Parliament or President. The motion was supported by the affidavit of the plaintiff himself, deposed to sworn to also on 5th February 2018. Since the plaintiff withdrew the action, or was given leave to withdraw the action, rather, I shall not dwell on all the matters deposed to therein. I shall only set out and comment on those which may assist this court in making the declaration sought impliedly by the first defendant and expressly by the seventh defendant. The plaintiff deposed that he was a businessman and also a registered voter. It did not declare his citizenship whether by birth or by naturalization. In this respect, his action would have failed in any event because Section 47, subsection 2 of the Public Elections Act 2012 stipulates that the person taking objection to the nomination of a presidential candidate should himself be a citizen of Sierra Leone. He exhibited his voter identification card, which does not necessarily and by itself prove that he is a citizen of Sierra Leone. He goes on to depose to certain matters of a legal nature, which he says are based on what he was told by his lawyers. One such was that prior to the 2006 Amendment Act, Sierra Leone did not recognize dual citizenship, and that by virtue of their own amended 1973 Citizenship Act, any person who had attained the age of 22 years ceased automatically to remain a Sierra Leone citizen if he held the citizenship of another country. Another matter I deposed to is that certain persons may have ceased to be Sierra Leone citizens by becoming citizens of another country, and that these persons were not eligible to be elected members of parliament. He admits that he is aware that the first defendant was born in Sierra Leone and that the first defendant has been in possession of the country's passport over the years. He goes on to depose that he was informed and that the first defendant had himself admitted that he had become a naturalized citizen of the United States of America and had been issued with a United States of America passport. He was aware that first defendant was the flag bearer for the National Grown Coalition and also a parliamentary candidate for the same party. He admitted in his paragraph 16 that it is public knowledge that the first defendant had said at a press conference that he had renounced his United States citizenship so as to comply with the 1991 Constitution. He deposes further that he was informed by one Abu Bakr Sanko, whom he verily believes that he, the said Sanko, had taken objection to the candidacy of first defendant in the Cambia constituency 62 for the parliamentary election on the ground that first defendant held dual nationality, but that Sanko's objection had been ignored by the returning officer in Cambia. To further his inquiries about the first defendant's status, he wrote to the Minister of Internal Affairs asking whether first defendant had resumed his Sierra Leonean nationality. He was informed by the ministry that it had no record of first defendant resuming his nationality. He was not satisfied that first defendant had truly renounced his American citizenship. First defendant had not provided any proof of his renunciation of American citizenship, nor of his resumption of Sierra Leone citizenship. In his paragraph 24, he deposes that, to quote him, that I honestly believe the only reason why the first defendant has not produced his certificate of loss of nationality is because it does not in fact exist, and therefore his claim of renunciation of U.S. nationality is incorrect. I have quoted this particular paragraph verbatim as it has some bearing on the point in time when the plaintiff realized that in truth, first defendant had indeed renounced his U.S. citizenship. This also has a bearing on the issue of costs, notwithstanding plaintiff's